Welcome back, everybody. This is Conversational Pace. I'm Brett Hornig, joined by co-host and other fast media guy, Finn Melanson. And we have a new brand, Mount to Coast. This is the T1, their first trail shoe that they've ever made.
Can I just say one thing? Going off Western States Week, it is such a shell shock to not be recording content in person. And
I know.
now that I've seen the light of in-person content, it's like, I wish we could just do I wish we could plan ahead and do 12 of these in person on various trips.
That would be so nice. So also, if we mess up words and stuff, it's because we're 2 days removed from the Western States 100. And I know neither of us have had any sleep in the last 8 days. So we're going to give it our best try here, but we got to talk about this shoe. We've put some running on it. And I think talking about new brands is exciting, and also new brands that are making their first trail shoe for the first time is exciting. And it feels like Mount to Coast is on a wave of, I don't know, just good vibes right now. I don't know. I see their advertising there, but I'm also seeing their shoes in the wild more.
Why do you think that is? Why of all the challenger brands have they caught on, in your opinion? Is it just the frequency of marketing and stuff like that, or?
I do always question if me seeing them in the wild means they're actually selling well, or if they're marketing exactly to the me's of the world, and I'm seeing all of them. There's dozens of us.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but they've had athletes on the road ultra side. They've had a lot of athletes breaking records in their shoes, and I've gotten a lot of messages and positive feedback about their road shoes. And I've been actually running in their road shoe. They sent us both their R1 and P1 models just to familiarize ourselves with the brands before giving us this T1. And I really enjoyed the R1. So let's dive into it. I'm just going to throw up a graphic with the stats, mostly because these shoes are a little damp right now because I just went for a run in them and I don't want to weigh them with a bunch of sweat. But $180, stack height 31 millimeters in the forefoot, 35 millimeters in the heel, 4 millimeter drop. Weight is that. Let's quickly go through the materials. We've got what's kind of like a knit. It's like an engineered woven fabric upper, and there's Kevlar fibers built into it. So basically, it's in-house matrix.
Matrix adjacent.
Yes, it's matrix adjacent, whatever that might be. We've got a pretty decently thick toe bumper across the front, an additional overlay that it's one piece, but it actually the toe bumper and the overlay is all one piece. It connects on the medial side by your big toe, where it then wraps around two different directions into the lace eyelet. Yeah, never seen anything quite like that before. You might notice, I don't know if you've held this shoe is supposed to have a dual quick lacing system. It's called Tuned Fit. And I'll put up a picture right now of what the lacing is supposed to look like. But there's two different quick lacing systems. One that tightens at the top, one that tightens in the bottom. And they're both split 50-50. So that way you can tighten and loosen the top half or the bottom half of the shoe individually. We'll dive into why both of ours have laces in a little bit. The tongue is a knit, a stretchy knit tongue with no padding. There is a knit lace garage at the top. But yeah, super minimal. It is gusseted. Yeah, super simple, kind of ghillie style lacing system with no additional eyelets, which makes sense because it's quick lace. You're not supposed to replace them. But there's kind of a medium amount of padding around the ankle collar and the heel cup. Super, super soft material internally that the foot sits up against, which I appreciate that. And kind of a mediumly rigid heel counter. The midsole is their proprietary foam blend called Lightcell. I was never quite able to find out the exact material that it is. They say it's super critical, but then they also say it's 50% lighter than regular EVA. So to me, it still feels like an EVA blend of sorts. I'm curious if it's an EVA PIBA blend or what. I'll dive into it more. And if I find out the right answer, I'll pin it in the comments. But they claim that it's 50% lighter than EVA and provides 45% more energy return than regular EVA, while also being substantially more durable. No plates or anything. So it's just pretty medium thick size slab of their light cell foam. Outsole is Vibram Mega Grip. They're 4 millimeter lugs. They're kind of multi-directional. They face one way in the forefoot and then opposite in the heel. One
Can't forget the
piece.
micro nubs. Can't forget the micro.
Oh,
Nubs.
yeah, there's some micro traction on there. Um, Good call, good eye, good eye. It's hard to see them because it's micro traction. We got two pretty decent sized channels of exposed foam down the middle, which I thought was interesting.
Very
We'll,
shallow too.
we'll dive into that in a minute. I think that's all the materials. 4 millimeter lugs, if I didn't say that already. Finn, what kind of testing mileage did you get in these ones?
64 miles in these, sort of still building back up post Cocodona, but diversity of environments for sure. Ran just about 20 miles in these in Olympic Valley as we were doing our Western States Media Week. Did 5 Rode the Trail miles in Salt Lake City yesterday, kind of bouncing back. And then another would have been like 35, 40 in the Salt Lake foothills. So mostly trail, 1 Rode the Trail sort of test. Yeah, and ended up climbing. I think it was just a shade under 8,000 feet too. So the specs were like 64, 8, and I think it was like 10 and a half, 11 hours time on feet.
Okay, solid. I got my numbers are kind of interesting. I got 88 miles, 21 hours, and about 17,000 feet of climbing, and equal amounts descending. A lot of time on feet, so my average pace was slower. Main reason for that is I ended up doing a lot of hiking in this shoe. Um, a lot of baby carrier hikes, and then also some slightly more verty days, which were just hiking and steeper descending. Also did a handful of just like mellow, easy runs, and I also did a couple harder workouts too. With like one of my best workouts actually leading up to Twisted Fork was in this shoe. I don't think it's because of the shoe. I think it was because that was a good time to do that workout. But it was interesting to do it in this shoe because I don't think this was like the correct shoe for that workout, but it survived it pretty well. It was like some uphill threshold with just like a 2 really hard downhills. At the first one was at like barely downhill, like 200 feet a mile, and it was at like 5 minute pace. And then the other one was a little bit steeper at like 520 or 530 pace. And it was interesting to like really jam some downhills in this shoe. Yeah, so that was what I got for testing miles. Let's talk about like the upper and the fit. Mine was a size 10 and it felt very true to size.
Size 12 for me, same.
Yeah, so kudos to Mount to Coast for being pretty spot on with your sizing. I thought the like initial step and feel and everything was pretty comfortable. I had one like step in red flag, which I was really curious about, and that was this additional piece of overlay right by the big toe. Like I was
Mm.
looking at it and I was like, man, if this bends and just makes a crease and cuts into my foot, like that's going to be a total deal breaker. I will say though, I never had any problems with it. Like didn't notice it at all. Like I was definitely super worried about the amount of fabric or like plastic there. Ended up being super comfortable. Now just seems like a durability pro to
Hmm.
me. Yeah, I would say I was surprised. It's like from a width standpoint, it seems like pretty like medium to slightly higher volume in some spots. Like the toe box felt pretty medium to me. Like it's not very squared off. I would say like North Face Endurus was probably one of the closer fitting toe boxes for me to it. I will say though, I thought that there was a pretty high volume, like amount of material in the midfoot.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that for me when I lace it up, there's just an amount of additional like kind of bagginess in the midsole or in the midfoot for me on the medial side, which is I mean the laces don't go like perfectly down the center either. They kind of slant towards the lateral side of the shoe, and there's some additional there's just more fabric on the medial side, and I don't think that benefited me, having a slightly lower volume foot, the midfoot. But I think for a lot of people who do have that like medium to higher volume midfoot, this will help out with just the comfort of that. So I wanted to ask you what you thought of the fit across the shoe.
The word that I turned to was accommodating. And that's two reasons. I think once you get beyond the toe bumper that you described and you get through to the rest of the midfoot, there's two things going on for me that kind of make the whole experience adjustable. First, and we talked about this when we were at the Olympic Valley House, you have this sort of like flex zone material here at the bottom of the lacing chain. And in a lot of shoes, for example, the normal Serac, it was a major deal breaker. There was just a ton of creasing that was happening here and causing hot spots on my metatarsals. This is really soft material, and there's just a lot of like adjustability here. And then I think the tongue is just super, super, super minimalistic. This could create, again, it could create irritation issues depending on how you lace your shoes up. But for me, it was sort of like a volume adjuster. And like just that entire piece of material, sort of that flex zone up to the top of the tongue, it made the upper, like for me, like a complete and total out of the box, like ready to do whatever run you wanted. Yeah, I
But
never even go ahead and say
I'll
but. Yeah.
say we need to acknowledge though why neither of ours have the quick lacing system.
Okay, well, I'll
Before
yeah,
we
no,
go like further into like what like how this upper
yeah,
fits so well, because like there's definitely some caveats to
fair.
it.
So I'll say yes. So this did used to come with it was kind of like a bifurcated lacing chain. Like you had like a bottom lacing chain that was totally separate from this top one,
Yeah,
kind of
and
like
like
this.
one tightened at the bottom and the other
Yeah.
tightened at the very top.
So I had two issues. One, you'll notice, and the tongue still has it, there's one lace garage. And there's one lace garage for two separate systems, and I could easily fit the top lacing chain into that garage, but then like there would just be so much extra cord for me at the bottom of this that I couldn't put anywhere.
Yeah,
Like I would
you
have
had
to
to do
almost
it
like
like the old fashioned way and just like loop it under, which
exactly.
was it wasn't faster.
So if I was running in like technical terrain or there was like branches underfoot and stuff, like you could catch something. And then also it just like again, if I was like running downhill on steep terrain, it made it difficult to achieve like a technical fit, is what I would say. And so I was having those
Yeah.
issues, and then you texted me, and you're like, "I know this is a review, but like you could just like put regular laces on." I was like, "Oh yeah, like let me just do that." And I think this is maybe the first time in CP history that I've followed suit and like modified my shoe for a review, but I think it was totally worth it. Like
Dude, this is
it
the
takes a
first
lot.
time you added laces to a
Added
shoe.
laces, yeah, for
Like,
sure.
but yeah, I was having the same problems too, where the convenience was cool on paper, but then the amount that I had to like mess with it, I just could not get as precise of a fit as I wanted. And the other thing that I noticed too, which I'm curious if anyone else will have this problem, is with the top quick lacing system, with the top one tightening at the top and the bottom one tightening at the bottom. Like what normally is this crossover at the very bottom eyelet, it was right in the middle of my arch for like double, because the top one went down to the middle and the bottom one went up to the middle. So then when you tightened, it created so much extra pressure across the top of my arch with just like two little cables of string that on one steeper long run, it did bruise like the top of my arch because there was so much additional lace pressure there. So the first thing I did was cut just the bottom lace and I flipped it around to see if that would help. So that way they were both like tightening in the same direction. And that was a little better, but I was still getting some foot sliding on like steeper downhills. So then I decided I was just going to cut both out and just put a set of laces in. What I would have liked to try, but I just I cut the laces too quickly, but I would have been curious to see if I kept the quick lace on the bottom half and then used the like half lace from my Mount Coast R1s up there and basically just replicated the lacing system of the R1 because I do really
Mm,
like that. I think that would have
mm.
worked fine too, but I have many more spare pairs of just full laces. So cut the quick laces out, put the regular laces in, increased the fit of the shoe for me. Like, it went from like a 5 out of 10 to like I'm going to say like a solid 8, because with that being said, the lockdown still wasn't perfect for me. And I think that's also because of the additional volume in the midfoot. I was always just getting a little bit of slippage, and there's not really anything I can do shy of tying the shoe entirely too tight. So for me, it just ended up being a shoe that like I couldn't take on the steepest of descents without getting like a significant amount of toe bang.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe had there been an additional eyelet up top, Again, like they wouldn't do that because it's quick laces, but if it was just regular laces and they had one more eyelet up top, I feel like there's a chance I could have done like the runner's lace thing and that could have helped. But yeah, it was just like it was an almost for me on the lacing, but I'm glad that I just put regular laces in and then was still able to make this shoe like very runnable because like do you have anything to add to this upper? I was going to move to
No,
the
no, but
midsole.
I have many thoughts on sort of the ride. So
Yeah, so like I I was motivated to keep running in the shoe and not just call it a day after like 30 miles because I really like all the midsoles that Mount Acosta is making. Like the R1, I really like that as a road shoe. Like it's just so comfortable to run in and it's very light. Again, this one, like I remember was texting you like when they came in. I was like, dude, pulling this shoe out of the box, it's actually much lighter than I thought.
yeah.
It's a medium stack shoe, but pretty light, and this foam is soft, but not mushy. So I'm like, I don't know. They got some good things going on. What do you think?
Well, first a question like 36 millimeter stack. That's like riding. That's like just riding that line of like I'm not sure if I call it high stack or medium stack. Would you agree? Like it's like right on that
Yeah,
line
it
of
doesn't feel like 36 though.
yeah. And so yeah, for the whole time it's been running. I would say like a lower stack shoe because yeah, like you said, like it's cushioned but not pillowy, and you don't feel like it's. I don't feel like I'm being thrown around. Like I feel like I'm in control when I'm running in
Yeah.
it. But the issue that I had is like especially once I crossed the 50-mile barrier, I progressively felt like I was getting more ground feel in the shoe, similar
Yeah,
to the
I'm a
issues,
little skeptical at
similar
how
to the like,
soft it
dude,
is.
like, let me just make sure I can pull this up. Like, just look at the creasing. If you can see it in this shoe, that's
Is
through
it?
64 miles.
Oh yeah, you've got some.
I've got quite a bit of creasing.
You got some
I think that
creases
this
there.
foam is really compressing pretty rapidly, and I'm, 8 or 9 runs into the shoe.
Yeah, I'm.
It's
I've got
compressed
that
quite a
as
bit.
well. Have you noticed the quality of the ride degrade much at all?
Only in the sense that I feel like I have more like ground feel, I would say.
Yeah.
Like it's feeling like less and less protection underfoot.
hmm I would say that after about 30 or 40 miles, it's settled into like that softness. But it for me, it doesn't feel like it's changed in the last like 40 to 50 though.
So
Like
it's
I
like a
kept thinking it would linearly keep going and getting softer and softer, but to me, like even the last like 20 or 30 miles of it, because I was thinking about that a lot. I was like, dude, this is pretty soft. Like, are we about to have another one of these where it totally dies? And like 21 hours time on feet, that's not nothing. Um,
yeah.
and like they still feel pretty good. So like I have my like red, I guess not a red flag. It's like, what is it? Like a yellow flag? It's like a caution flag. Where I just feel like I need more miles, to really see how durable this foam is. But like normal EVA that's this soft, I'm like, okay, this is packing out at like 150 miles. But they say it's more durable. I'm definitely skeptical though because it's so soft. The other thing that has me worried is, the two big channels in the forefoot, or in the forefoot and the heel. The forefoot one worries me because with there being no main connector between the two pieces of outsole, when this foam like packs out, it'll allow it to pack outward like get wider.
Mhm.
Whereas if this outsole were connected here in some way, it would keep the foam from packing out just a little bit and keep more of the energy going like up and down and not displace sideways. Like perhaps though, on the other hand, you do get an extra amount of like plushness and cushion because the foam can kind of round outwards. So a little bit of pro and con there, but yeah, definitely a little bit skeptical on what the overall durability of this shoe is. With that being said, it's super comfortable.
Yeah, and that's good to know. I mean, again, I'm 20 miles behind you and 4 or 5 hours time on feet. So if you're saying that it kind of stays put,
It
in
hasn't
terms of that
changed
packing
much for
out, yeah,
me
I think
so
that's good
far.
news.
But definitely would be curious like how it's at like 200, 300 miles. So I'm curious if there's anyone in the comments that has logged more miles in them and where they're at with the shoe. Another part of the shoe that I really like is the almost like boring midsole geometry. Like it's a 4 mil drop, medium stack, pretty flexible, kind of soft, but there's no like insane rockers in either way.
Very
Like it's
gradual.
very, very classically shaped. And for the type of running that I like doing in the shoe, especially hiking, I appreciate the boring shape. I don't need every single one of my shoes to be these like insanely stiff rockered, you know, bounce forward type shoes. I'm trying to think like I mean it reminds me of like the S Lab Genesis in terms of the shape.
My
Um,
comparison was the Prodigio.
yeah, Prodigio. Yeah, I wrote down a few. Honestly, like Norda 001 from a
Oh yeah.
midsole
Yeah.
standpoint, like that medium. Like it's simple. That's what it is. It's simple and it's like really easy to do a lot of things in. So I really liked that kind of boring geometry. And because of the foam still being pretty soft, sometimes a shoe that doesn't have very exciting geometry can sometimes be a little slappy if it's on the stiffer side because you don't have much like just like transition. But for me, at least, it was soft enough where like it still did feel very smooth when running, just like running anything in it, whether that was on the roads or dirt. What'd you think about running in it on like slightly more rugged terrain? Because I got vert, but I didn't do a lot of like super technical or rocky things.
I got one run in on Grandeur Peak, which is like our local steep hill. It's actually like one of the only true VKs we have here in Salt Lake. And I ran downhill on it, and that was when I still had the quick laces in,
Yeah.
and I was just dealing with some lockdown issues, where it was
Mm.
just hard to get that technical fit. But otherwise, like underfoot, protective, stable. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the outsole. I actually really like this lug pattern. I don't know. I don't really have any notes for it other than this big channel in the forefoot, but like I like the lug shape. I like the 4 millimeter depth. I think that's like a great sweet spot for Vibram.
Why do we see like differences in depths for some of these exposed foam channels? Like some shoes we've reviewed, it's just like a much deeper cut there, whereas this is like really close to the lugs.
Yeah, I think one, the shoe's not high stack enough to take out any more foam.
Yeah.
So like it's got to be pretty much like basically not even a channel. I think the other thing is just depending on the reasoning for it, which is going to vary from brand to brand. Like some brands, it's like purely to save weight. Others, it's like to increase flexibility. I don't quite know what the main reason for these ones might be. Like my guess is maybe flexibility, like laterally, but I don't know. It's already a pretty flexible shoe. I'd have been curious to see if you just like, I mean, add like 4 grams of rubber across the
Right.
middle, but I don't know. Um, yeah, tacky, gripped great on like super dry, loose, dusty stuff. What do you think this shoe is best for?
Well, I think it's interesting, and I guess there's a couple brands that either say this explicitly or they basically suggest it, but Mount to Coast is a brand that is like out in the forefront saying we are for ultra runners.
Yeah, it's like very niche marketing.
It's an ultra running shoe, which I'm like,
Yeah.
are there enough people in this market for you? Like, I mean, all the power to you, but like, wow, all right.
I guess
Um,
like I was thinking about that and I was like, well, maybe if they are marketing to like the people who run the longest in the sport, there will be people who are like, well, if they're marketing to ultra runners, they must be comfortable or like long lasting, so I'll buy one too,
yeah.
maybe. Or they'll be like, oh, well, I'm not buying this shoe. I'm not an ultra runner. This shoe's not for me.
So I'm
Curious which
pretty
way it goes.
sure I think one of their athletes is Cole Crosby,
Hmm.
who we both know, and I think he ran. Didn't he set like a 200 or a 48-hour record in this shoe, or was it the R1? It was
Uh,
either the R1 or the T1 that he ran like a 200 or a 48-hour record or something like that. It was some really fast 200 miler or 48-hour time.
I've seen the R1 in the press more for like records. Most recently, I saw like was it Cody Poskin at
At
Cocodona?
Cocodona.
He
Yep.
wore apparently one pair of T1s
Yeah,
for the entire race.
that's awesome.
Do you think this shoe's best for something like that?
I mean, I would definitely wear it at Cocodona. Like I said, my only concern is just like again, this visually, the foam on this shoe is ridiculously compressed for how
Hmm.
relatively few miles I've run in it. Um, if if what you're saying is true, that like this is the extent of the packed out feeling, at least for the first couple hundred miles, I would totally run a 100 miler or a 200 miler. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think there's enough like give in the upper material and like breathability for like if you're, if your foot gets all like inflamed and stuff or like grows in size, it'll accommodate like over those longer distances, longer
Yeah.
days out there. So yeah, I think so. It depends on the surface. Like, maybe, I'm not on the most technical races out there, but
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It's very versatile.
What about from like a training standpoint?
Well, first off, how about you? Like racing wise, do you see yourself?
Racing wise, I don't see myself racing in it because even though the laces helped with the fit a lot, it helped with the fit enough where I could do most training things in it, but I'm still not going to race in it.
That's not
The
pretty
only
light.
time is maybe I would have it in my bag as a blow up shoe
This is a blow up shoe.
because it's comfortable. It's comfortable and like easy to put on. I know it's going to work in pretty much any scenario. But from a pure like racing performance standpoint, I still get just a little bit too much slip on steeper downhills where I'm always like holding back on all my descents and I can't just like I'm always thinking about my feet and my toes in particular when I'm descending about like make sure I don't relax my feet too much or else my toes are just going straight to the front. Um, so for that reason, I wouldn't race in it. From a training standpoint, though, I really ended up enjoying the shoe for like all of my all of the boring days that like on a training calendar are not the ones that give you the most kudos on Strava, but are actually some of the most important ones in a training block. So like the easy medium length long runs that are like just slow, a lot of my like easy recovery runs. I did some workouts in it and I can work out in them, but it wasn't like the fastest feeling workout shoe.
Mm.
I also wrote down that like this is a great vacation shoe where if I am bringing one shoe with me, this is a great one of those.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know I can do any road or trail run in the shoe. I ran on the roads in it, and the midsole foam is great on the roads. So I'm like, yeah, this could be my one running shoe I bring with me on vacation.
I want one more thing. Because obviously, like with other brands, there's just like a deeper selection and you can specialize more. I think for the people out there that are one quiver shoe people,
Mm-hmm.
and that maybe for whatever reason are like mount to coast evangelists and they just want to be with the brand, like I think they did a pretty good job at making a pretty versatile shoe for a lot of different activities. And it's also, again, for a one quiver shoe, it's pretty light. Like I just held up the Prodigio Pro in my other hand. And I'm
Yeah,
like, this is a
it's a
pretty light
very
shoe.
light shoe. Like it's from a weight standpoint, it is thrown in the performance category. Like they, there's so many parallels to this shoe and the Solomon S Lab Genesis, which I think I'll talk about that more when we break down the value, and like whatnot. But they really spared no expense in regards to like making sure the shoe didn't have any unnecessary things on it, which I just appreciate that. It's like even if it's not like a quote unquote like super shoe or a race shoe, I like that they still made it really as light as possible and didn't just put any extra crap on it.
Yep.
Let's talk about well, we've touched on durability a bit. I don't. The upper feels pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's any scenario where I'm like breaking anything on this upper.
Yeah, it's just to me, it's the midsole. That's the only concern I have. I think the outsole and upper are going to go for quite a while.
Yeah, like
And
4 millimeter Vibram Mega Grip lugs. Like you know what you're gonna get with that. Like you're probably getting 400, 500 miles maybe out of it. Like which is like great. Yeah, the big question mark is like how long is this midsole really going to last? And after 21 hours, it still feels pretty good. I'm like, if I double that, get 40 hours, like that's moving up into like pretty average category range. Like, love to get that like 60 to 80 hour time on feet. Like, but yeah, definitely super curious. So I think as of right now, I'm kind of giving it like a B, like which is fine. Like even a C plus B minus for midsole durability. Like that's not bad. That's average. Maybe there's some bookworms who are listening who are like, no, that's totally unacceptable. But
hey, I've always said D's get degrees. So
I really thought it was C's get
I
degrees.
think D's get degrees.
I mean, okay.
What's in the comments? Do D's get
Is
degrees?
it D's get degrees or C's get degrees? Maybe we hold ourselves to a higher standard here in Southern Oregon at Southern Oregon University, and maybe it is C's get degrees, but whatever school, whatever little East Coast school you went to, maybe the D's are okay.
I went to an infamous East Coast state school called Zoomass Drughurst.
Oh my God. That sounds like a party. Let's talk about value and like kind of wrap that in with some like competitor shoes. What do you think of the value of this shoe?
What's the price point again?
180.
Oh, I think 180 is a fantastic price point.
Even if it packs out in 100 miles.
No, according to you, it doesn't. If it did,
According to me, it might not, but
okay. If it's true that it doesn't,
yeah,
then I think where you are getting 300 to 400 miles out of this shoe, and if it's as versatile as I think it is, I think it's a great value. I think there's a lot more expensive shoes that promise to do a lot more that don't. I mean, there are shoes in this category that will retail for 230 to 280, and this is 180. Like,
yeah.
I think it's
this is $20 cheaper than the Solomon S-Lab Genesis. The S-Lab Genesis is $200. This fits wider and roomier, but they are almost identical weights. They have very similar outsole, like lug depths, and in my opinion, very similar rides. The S-Lab Genesis is just quite a bit snugger and tighter, and if that was the deal breaker for you, I think this is the shoe that you pursue. Because the S-Lab Genesis also is like somewhat boring from a geometry standpoint. Probably a little bit better rock protection because it does have that like film there in it, the like sense of film. I don't know if they call it that anymore, but it's there to help like really with the big rock hits. But I think this could potentially be like your $20 cheaper S-Lab Genesis for people who want a little bit more room in the shoe. I also wrote down, which you also mentioned, the La Sportiva Prodigio. Not quite the Pro, though. The Pro is, I think, just on a different level, in a different category.
For sure.
Regular Prodigio is 155, but I had my problems with that shoe. They are similar, though. Another shoe I wrote down, which I didn't realize jumped up from like 140 to 155, maybe 150 to 155, Nike Pegasus Trail. I wrote that down because it's just kind of like another... I could bring it on vacation and like just do all of the runs in it sort of shoe. But I think you get a lot more performance in the Mount to Coast T1, being lighter weight, better outsole, better midsole foam, Papa John's. I know we said that before, but that just happened. Yeah, so there's some interesting competitors, but I think that the head-to-head for me is S-Lab Genesis, and I think S-Lab Genesis, if you like that snugger Solomon fit, if you want something a little more relaxed but still want similar performance, T1's that shoe. Yeah, I think that's kind of how I feel about it.
What's the question for the audience besides C's and D's get degrees?
Do you think Mount to Coast is going to make it? What do you think about this brand? Like,
That's a great question.
They turned one this past April. Like they've officially been a brand since April 2024. Like that's not that long at all. And I feel like they've grown quite a bit in the last year and a bit, and made some really good shoes. Like their first shoe ever, that Mount to Coast R1, I think that is a fantastic shoe.
Yep.
I do all of my treadmill running in the R1, because like if there's anything that's going to piss me off about a shoe, it's when I'm on a treadmill because I'm like thinking about nothing other than my foot hitting the belt. If something's like off, I will feel it on a treadmill, and that is the shoe I wear on a treadmill. So yeah, I'm curious to see what people think about this Mount to Coast brand, if they've had experiences with it or if they're going to try this out. Interestingly though, I was just looking before we hopped on, this shoe is all sold out on the Mount to Coast website. I know they did a pre-order, and perhaps a lot of people pre-ordered, and then they just didn't have much available stock. So I'll be watching out for that restock, and I'll throw a link in the show notes if they become available again. Same with Running Warehouse. They are a Mount to Coast dealer, but I don't see the T1 on there yet. When it becomes available, I will throw a link below because your purchase from Running Warehouse does help support the channel, allows us to keep doing reviews like this. Next shoe we review will be a new brand. You're going on vacation though, so I might, if I have time, see what the running comes up to. But I might throw a few solo. I have a solo video that I'm thinking about doing, solo review. But yeah, I'm excited for this next shoe because it's interesting.
I'm holding it below the screen.
We'll see if anyone can recognize it behind you because it's just like white and kind of vague. But with that, see everyone in the next episode of Conversational Pace.